Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So I happened to catch that unfortunate incident on camera at one of my recent photo shoots, and thought it would make for a good topic to come on here and discuss, how we're supposed to react when something like this happens during our photo shoots. And making that face I was making at the beginning of this video is the absolute opposite that you want to do. In my mind, I think the most important thing we do as professional photographers is to keep our cool when something like this happens. When something crashes and breaks, there are going to be a lot of people uncomfortable around the incident there, and the worst thing we can do is exacerbate that. Let's face it, we can always replace our gear, but we only have one chance to leave a lasting impression with who we're working with. And in the long run, that is much more important, much more valuable than a piece of gear that might happen to break on our set. So keeping that in mind, I did my best to, and it's easier to say that here than watch something like that happen and try and not, react to it. But this case, for instance, I picked up the light, reset everything. We just went right kind of back to work, got the shot that we were needing to get, and in between talent on this setup, we cleaned up the glass, and I just tried to make it as cool and calm as possible, and it was just not a big deal. And you're gonna have people coming up to you going, "Oh my God, I can't even imagine how much a light like that costs," and saying things like that. And it's just our job to just downplay all that talk. I mean, the last thing I'm gonna do is talk about replacement costs for a piece of gear that is broken on a set or something that quits working. It's just not the place and the time for that. And we just have to remember, if we're doing this long enough, things like this are gonna happen. I mean, I've had strobes that weren't knocked over that quit working on set. I've had camera shutters break inside my camera. I've had tether cables quit working. I've had remotes break off the top of my camera. Heck, I was on that aircraft carrier with the Naval Academy, and some kind of radar or something or another was scrambling my camera. So the best thing we can do is just not show any outward emotion that gets anyone panicked on our setup. All right, this is future me popping in while I edit this video, but I felt like I needed to add something before I start talking about the 3 things that I like to do to prepare for something like this happening on set. And probably the main thing is to set my setup to where I'm preventing something, or doing my best to prevent something like this from happening. So like in this case, from this video, I should have had sandbags on my lights. I should have had made sure my set was wide enough for what we were doing. Should have paid better attention through the camera as I was taking these photos. A lot of different things I could have done better on this set, and that all falls on me. It was a fluid type setup that I was working. We had different backdrops that you could see in that video, different lighting setups, we were capturing 9 different images for banners, but that's really no excuse at the end of the day. It all fell on me, and I wanted to just kind of clear that, make sure that I put that out there before we head back to the video, which we will do right now. So there are 3 things that I like to do to prepare for something like this that might happen on a photo shoot. The first is to have backup pieces of gear. So an extra light if something like that happens on a set, extra camera, extra tether cord, extra remotes. If we're going to be professionals and do this, you have to prepare for these types of worst case scenarios to where you can continue to function and capture what you're there to capture and what you're paid to be there for, and not let down who's hired you, because that is the worst thing you can do. So the first thing is to bring backups. The second thing is to prepare mentally for something like this to happen. So if I'm there and one of my strobes goes down and I don't necessarily have a backup, I want to mentally prepare to be able to adjust my lighting so we can seamlessly continue on the photo shoot. If I don't, for some reason, have 2 tether cables that go down, then I'm just going to have to start shooting in camera and then using maybe the display on the camera, or either dropping the memory cards to the computer, somehow not losing that continuity during a production. And then thirdly is to just have a repair warranty kind of system in place to where I know when something like this happens to a piece of my gear, I know after the shoot, how I'm gonna have to go about getting something repaired or replaced in as quickly of amount of time as possible, so then I have it back in my kit and ready to go, hopefully sooner rather than later. And just talking about this piece of gear, y'all saw it take the tumble. Fortunately, it was still working just fine. I ended up ordering another dome because that smashed when this happened. But I did know how, like, if this strobe was busted in one way or another, I did know how I was going to have this replaced, who to call, who to ship it to, and all that kind of stuff, to where I would be able to take care of it within a day or two after this setup. So just thought I would come on here, since I did catch this, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, on camera, and make a video just to kind of maybe remind myself, because it is easier to talk about this than it is to really not react when something like that happens. And I'm sure that plenty of y'all have horror stories, which please share those down in the comments if you like. And I believe that's all I got for today. So if you feel like this is worthy, please hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down there and the little bell so YouTube will let you know when I'm back on here. And in the meantime, you can find me on social media at quantzphoto on Instagram, as well as ProLight Mods at ProLight Mods on Instagram. Y'all stay safe and healthy out there, and I will see y'all again soon in the next one.